scratched, dirty, and worn-out Washington state quarters, normally worth 25 cents, right? Wrong. Today, I'm exposing 4 rare state Washington quarters that are in bad condition but have reached million-dollar values due to shocking mint errors and rare history you've probably never heard of. First up, the 1998 Washington quarter with the D Mint mark is a modern United States quarter-dollar coin that was produced by the Denver Mint during a time when Washington quarters were still part of the long-running original Washington quarter design that began in 1932, long before the state quarters program officially started in 1999, making the 1998 issue one of the final, classic, Washington quarters before a major design change in U.S. coinage history, and this alone gives the coin historical importance even when found today in very bad or heavily circulated condition. The obverse of the coin features the familiar left-facing portrait of George Washington designed by John Flanagan, showing Washington with tied hair and strong facial details, with the words, "Liberty," above his head, "In God We Trust," to the left, and the date, 1998, below, while the small D Mint mark appears to the right of Washington's ponytail, indicating it was struck at the Denver Mint, which produced hundreds of millions of these quarters for everyday circulation, meaning the coin was intended for daily use in commerce such as vending machines, shops, buses, and cash registers across America. The reverse side shows a heraldic bald eagle with spread wings standing on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing strength and national defense, with olive branches below representing peace, surrounded by the inscriptions, United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and quarter dollar, all of which were common elements of Washington quarters for decades, but in bad condition many of these details become weak, flat, scratched, or partially missing due to years of wear, environmental exposure, dirt, corrosion, and contact with other coins. A 1998 D Washington quarter in bad condition typically shows heavy smoothing on Washington's hair, face, and jawline, fading of the word liberty, weakened date numbers, loss of fine feather detail on the eagle, flattened arrows, and rim damage, and such coins often have deep scratches, dark discoloration, stains, edge nicks, and sometimes small bends, all of which significantly reduce collector value. Yet these worn coins tell a real story of American daily life in the late 1990s, when the U.S. economy was strong, cash transactions were common, and millions of people unknowingly carried these quarters in their pockets every day. From a value perspective, a normal 1998 D Washington quarter in bad condition is generally worth only its face value of 25 cents, since it is not rare, not silver, and was produced in extremely large quantities, but collectors still examine such coins carefully because rare errors can dramatically change the value even in poor condition, such as off-center strikes, double die errors, clipped planchettes, broad strikes, misaligned dies, or missing clad layers, and if any of these mint errors are present, a heavily worn 1998 D quarter could potentially be worth many dollars or even hundreds depending on the type and severity of the error. Additionally, some people mistakenly believe all old quarters are silver, but it is important to know that by 1998, Washington quarters were made of a copper-nickel-clad composition with an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, meaning there is no precious metal value in a standard 1998 D quarter, regardless of condition. However, these coins still have educational, nostalgic, and historical interest, especially for beginners in coin collecting, students learning about U.S. money, or YouTube content creators who focus on everyday coins that might still be hiding valuable errors in circulation. In bad condition, the coin also demonstrates how circulation wear affects coin grading, helping collectors understand terms like good, very good, or about good, where major design elements are visible but heavily worn. making the 1998 D Washington quarter a perfect example of a modern circulated coin that has survived decades of use. Overall, while a badly worn 1998 D Washington quarter is usually not valuable in a traditional sense, it represents the final years of a classic American coin design, reflects real economic history, and serves as a reminder that even common coins should be checked carefully, because sometimes extraordinary value hides in ordinary, heavily worn change. Next up, the 1982 Washington quarter with the D mint mark is a very interesting and historically important United States coin, even when found today in bad, worn, or heavily circulated condition, because the year 1982 was a special and unusual time in U.S. coin production, marked by economic pressure, high inflation, rising metal costs, and major changes in how coins were made and collected, and this makes the 1982 D quarter far more important than many people realize at first glance. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint, which is identified by the small D mint mark located on the obverse to the right of George Washington's ponytail, and unlike many other years, the U.S. Mint did not produce official uncirculated mint sets in 1982, meaning collectors could only obtain 1982 quarters directly from circulation, which instantly made well-preserved examples harder to find and increased collector interest over time. The obverse design features the classic left-facing portrait of George Washington designed by John Flanagan, with the word, "Liberty," across the top, "In God We Trust," to the left, and the date, 1982, at the bottom, while the reverse shows the familiar heraldic bald eagle with spread wings, arrows symbolizing strength, olive branches representing peace, and the inscriptions, United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar, all of which were standard for Washington quarters before the state quarters program began in 1999. When a 1982 D Washington quarter is found in bad condition, it usually shows heavy wear on Washington's hair, cheek, jawline, and neckline, with many fine details completely worn flat, the word liberty often weak or partially missing, the dates sometimes faded, and the eagle's feathers, arrows, and olive leaves on the reverse appearing smooth or ghost-like due to years of circulation, while scratches, rim dings, dark toning, stains, corrosion spots, and edge damage are also very common, showing that the coin spent decades moving through hands, pockets, vending machines, and cash registers across the United States. From a metal composition standpoint, the 1982 D quarter is made of copper nickel clad, with outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, meaning it contains no silver, which surprises many beginners who associate older coins with precious metals, but despite lacking silver, this coin still holds strong numismatic significance because 1982 was one of the lowest mintage years for Washington quarters in the modern era, especially from Denver, and because no mint sets were issued. Truly high-grade examples are scarce. In bad condition, a normal 1982 D Washington quarter is usually worth only its face value of 25 cents, but collectors never ignore this date because certain rare mint errors can make even heavily worn examples valuable, such as double die obverses, repunch mint marks, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchettes, misaligned dies, weak strikes, or missing clad layers, and some of these error coins have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on severity and rarity. Another important aspect of the 1982 D quarter is that it is often used as a teaching coin for grading, because the difference in value between a badly worn example and a sharply struck one is dramatic, showing how condition plays a major role in modern coin collecting. Historically, this coin reflects a period when the U.S. Mint was cutting costs, reducing collector-focused production, and prioritizing circulation coinage, which makes every surviving 1982 D quarter a real artifact of American economic history during the early 1980s recession. Even in poor condition, the coin tells a story of everyday life, representing bus fares, grocery purchases, parking meters, and countless small transactions made by ordinary people. And for YouTube creators and educators, the 1982 Washington quarter in bad condition is a perfect example of a coin that looks common and worn but carries hidden historical importance and the potential for rare error value, reminding collectors and the public alike that every coin deserves a second look, because sometimes the most valuable discoveries come from the most damaged and overlooked pocket change. Next up, the 1995 Washington quarter with the P Mint mark is a classic example of a modern United States coin that appears extremely common on the surface, especially when found today in bad, worn, or heavily circulated condition, yet it still carries historical, educational, and collector interest because it belongs to the final years of the original Washington quarter design before the state quarters program completely changed American coinage in 1999. This coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the small P Mint mark located on the obverse just to the right of George Washington's ponytail. And by 1995 the Philadelphia Mint was producing massive quantities of quarters to meet everyday commercial demand across the country, meaning these coins were used heavily in daily life for vending machines, public transport, parking meters, laundromats, and retail transactions, which explains why so many examples survive today in poor condition. The obverse design features John Flanagan's left-facing portrait of George Washington with the inscriptions, "Liberty," at the top, "In God We Trust," to the left, and the date, 1995, below, while the reverse displays the traditional heraldic bald eagle with spread wings, arrows symbolizing national defense, olive branches representing peace, and the inscriptions, "United States of America, E Pluribus Unum," and "Quarter Dollar," a design that had been familiar to Americans for generations. In bad condition, a 1995 P Washington quarter typically shows heavy wear on Washington's hair details, cheekbones, jawline, and neck, with the surface appearing flat and smooth, the lettering of Liberty and the date often weak or partially worn away, and the eagle on the reverse lacking feather detail, with flattened wings, arrows, and olive leaves, while scratches, rim dents, edge nicks, discoloration, dark toning, and dirt buildup are very common, all of which reflect long years of circulation and handling. From a composition standpoint, the 1995 P quarter is made of a copper nickel-clad structure, consisting of outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, meaning it contains no silver or precious metal value, and this is important for collectors and beginners to understand because silver quarters were discontinued decades earlier in 1964. In terms of value, a normal 1995 P Washington quarter in bad condition is usually worth only its face value of 25 cents, but collectors still carefully examine these coins because rare mint errors can dramatically increase their worth even when the coin is heavily worn, including doubled die errors, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchettes, misaligned dies, missing clad layers, weak strikes, or die cracks, and such errors, if genuine, can raise the value from a few dollars to hundreds or even thousands depending on rarity and severity. The 1995 P quarter also serves as an excellent educational coin for understanding modern coin grading, because the difference between a badly worn example and a high-grade uncirculated example is enormous, teaching collectors how circulation wear affects details, luster, and sharpness. Historically, this coin represents mid-1990s America, a time of economic stability, widespread cash usage, and growing interest in coin collecting just before the explosion of popularity brought by the state quarters program, making the 1995 P Washington quarter part of the transition between traditional and modern U.S. numismatics. Even in poor condition, this coin tells a real story of everyday American life and commerce, and while it may not be rare or valuable on its own, it remains important as a learning tool, a historical artifact, and a reminder that every coin, no matter how scratched, worn, or ignored, can still hold meaning, history, and the potential for hidden value if a rare error or unusual feature is present. Next up, the 1992 Washington quarter with the P Mint mark is a widely circulated modern U.S. quarter that at first appears very common, especially when found today in bad, worn, or heavily circulated condition, but it still holds historical, educational, and collector importance because it belongs to the long-running Washington Quarter series that began in 1932 and continued with the same basic design for decades before the major design changes of the late 1990s, making every coin from this era a small piece of American monetary history. This coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the small P Mint mark located on the obverse just to the right of George Washington's ponytail, and in 1992 the U.S. Mint produced enormous numbers of quarters to support everyday commerce across the country, which explains why these coins were used heavily in daily transactions such as shopping, transportation, vending machines, and parking meters, resulting in many surviving examples today being in poor condition. The obverse design features John Flanagan's classic left-facing portrait of George Washington, with the inscriptions, "Liberty," at the top, "In God We Trust," to the left, and the date, 1992, below, while the reverse shows the traditional heraldic bald eagle with spread wings, a bundle of arrows symbolizing strength and defense, olive branches representing peace, and the inscriptions, "United States of America, E Pluribus Unum," and "Quarter Dollar," a design familiar to generations of Americans. When a 1992 P Washington quarter is in bad condition, the effects of long-term circulation are very visible, with Washington's hair details, facial features, and jawline often worn smooth. The lettering of Liberty and the date weakened are partially missing, and the eagle's feathers, arrows, and olive leaves on the reverse appearing flat and lacking definition, while deep scratches, rim dents, edge damage, dark toning, dirt buildup, and surface stains are common, all of which tell the story of a coin that has passed through countless hands over many years. From a composition standpoint, the 1992 P quarter is made of copper nickel clad, consisting of outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, meaning it contains no silver or precious metal value, which is important for new collectors to understand since silver quarters were discontinued after 1964. In terms of value, a normal 1992 P Washington quarter in bad condition is generally worth only its face value of 25 cents. But collectors never completely ignore this date because certain rare mint errors can significantly increase value even on heavily worn coins, such as doubled die obverses or reverses, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchettes, die cracks, weak strikes, or missing clad layers, and verified examples of such errors can be worth many times face value depending on rarity and severity. This coin is also useful as a learning tool in coin grading, helping collectors understand how wear affects modern coins and why condition plays such a critical role in determining value, especially for high mintage issues like those from the early 1990s. Historically, the 1992 P Washington quarter represents everyday American life in the early 1990s, a period when cash was still king, electronic payments were rare, and coins like this one were essential for small transactions, making even a badly worn example a real artifact of daily economic activity. Overall, while a 1992 P Washington quarter in poor condition is not rare or valuable in the traditional sense, it remains meaningful as part of the long Washington quarter series, valuable for education and collecting knowledge, and important as a reminder that even the most common, heavily worn coins can sometimes hide rare errors and unexpected value. encouraging collectors and the public alike to always take a closer look at their pocket change before dismissing it as ordinary. Please like and subscribe to my channel.